Okay, so now moving on to the third Q syllabus. So from here we start to look at chokes. So we've done all basic locks and joint control. Now we're going to chokes and strangulation. So basically this starts to teach the difference between a choke and a strangulation, because people often refer to them all as chokes, but they're very different things. They work very differently, and it starts getting you to know anatomy a bit more and starting to learn exactly how you can apply these things. So the first one we look at is my Hadaka Jime, which essentially is, well, it's a front naked choke, or people often refer to it as a guillotine. Okay, so it's basically a front headlock. It's if someone charges you, attacks you, or you've hit them and they've knocked down. So whether he charges in at me and tries to take down or grapple in this way, right, and I've got a head, or whether it's he's just thrown a punch or something, and I've done something, whether it be a knee or a kick, and he's dropped down, right, and I get to this position where I can get around and underneath the neck. Now, technically, my Hadaka Jime is done with an arm out. So when I say arm out, what I mean is head is isolated. You don't want this kind of position where, oh, I've got an arm in. That's a different thing altogether, and we'll get to that later. But this is straight underneath, isolating the head. So you want the head in close to your body, so it's isolated, and this comes up underneath. All right? Now, there are different ways of culminating this. So you've got, depending on your grip, I suppose it doesn't really matter. Some people do all sorts of weird grabs and stuff. For me, if I go underneath this way, I tend to grab here to lock up, and I'll grab my own fingers, so I'm this way or this way, okay? Because that way I can pull in, and then you can move through the wrist, okay? Because the whole idea is to make this gap smaller, okay? Now what this does is it puts pressure on the esophagus, okay? So underneath, so I can pull up that way. So this is a choke, not a strangulation. So choke is air. I'm taking pressure on the windpipe. So as this comes in from here, what I don't want is to just go pull, right? I don't want to lift up. You see people do that all the time. I want to go underneath, I want to culminate, and from here, I actually go lat down, engage my lat, and then I choke up, right? Very little movement needed if I engage this down. So it's no different than working hikite arm, working that elbow pushing down, engaging your lat. It's exactly the same thing, just in a different position, okay? But as soon as you get that under, weight down, it isolates, and then that gets smaller, and it just puts pressure straight in the esophagus, as you heard, choke. So once again, you don't need to go hard, go real slow until you get them to tap, okay? Basic, straightforward. There's not too much to that. It's pretty easy, pretty basic to learn. Most people are familiar with your headlock kind of position, so it's easy to teach, okay?